This is about to get a lot worse. They don't even know how to fix it, or do they? We're going to break that down with facts, figures, numbers, logic. Buckle up.
I ain't gonna give in now. I just gotta live this now. I'm gonna beam and I'ma kill this stuff real quick. I'ma go take it to town, cause I gotta be that king in their beam and I'm knocking them out when I'm back with the whip. Cause I am just up on the journey. Know that I'm just going insane.
Warriors, rise. Grand rising. Good evening, warriors all over the world. First of all, I want to say thank you to every single person that's been watching this video. Make sure you hit that notification. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can get this information on a daily basis. We're doing a video every single day to keep you informed as we move into this brand new world, okay? It is about to get worse, but here is the silver lining. Here is the good news. If you do this right and you understand deep inside your heart, we win in the end. It's the greatest time in human history, the biggest transfer of wealth. And the question you have to ask yourself is 10 years from now, your kids, your grandkids, your family is going to ask you, what did you do during the biggest shift in generational wealth in our human history? The shift from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, industrial to technical, the biggest quantum shift we've ever seen, the biggest shift in spirituality that we've ever seen, and one of the biggest changes in our human history. I'm going to show you facts, figures, numbers, logic. The financial system is in a dangerous, dangerous position right now as we transition. America is buried in debt. 33% of our debt is held outside of the United States. We're in a debt-based society, and there was this crazy switch that just happened within the last 6 months that has destroyed the financial institution. I'm going to break that down. It's called the bond market, okay? Money was very cheap for a very long time in a low interest rate environment. They had the printing machine going nice and steady. They turned it on full blast for some reason 24 months ago. And then they put on the brakes. And then all of a sudden, we have a brand new monetary system called blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and a battle in between the sovereign and the centralized system. Or is it all by design behind the scenes? Here's what I'll tell you. Is no influencer on YouTube or TikTok has the insight at the deep enough level to understand exactly what's going to happen. We can all make informed decisions. And if we pick a couple of winners and you know what to do after that, it could radically change your life. But if you're here to get rich quick, you're in the wrong place. There is no get rich quick. Long-term, fundamental. So let's dive right into it. At the end of this video, if you're interested in figuring out how I've helped over 6,000 warriors worldwide radically change their life, and it's not what you think, there is no get rich quick. Here, in aligning here, you'll understand. Watch all the way to the end of this video. All right, so let's dive right into it, warriors. So we're going to first watch this video from Jerome Powell. I like to show the same videos over and over and over and over again, because what you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. This was a video that he, or this same nomenclature, or would that be nomenclature? The same verbiage he used in 2020, 2021. Pay attention to what he says. Then I'm going to show you what's actually happening within our system.
We're not going back to the same economy. This will be a different economy. And one of the things we hear from companies is that they've spent a lot of time since the pandemic arrived looking at ways to have more effective technology and perhaps fewer people. So you're going to see some of that in these public-facing jobs. So there will be millions of people who have a hard time finding their way back into the workforce and recovering the lives that they had just a year ago. And, you know, I think it would be appropriate for us to continue to support those people. The recovery, though, here remains uneven and incomplete. The burden is still falling on lower income workers. The unemployment rate in the bottom quartile is still 20%. There's still 8.5 million people out of work. And this unevenness that we're talking about is a very serious issue. Viruses are no respecters of borders. And until...
Okay, then he goes into the virus and the vaccine, okay? But listen to what he said. We're not coming back to a new economy. We're coming back to a new economy leveraged towards technology. 8 million workers are out of their job. Well, the president, right, our president said that, hey, listen, job markets are booming now. Well, when they opened everything back up, of course, everybody went back to work, right? But now we're in a position where they switched the whole economy. We went from a low interest rate environment, boom, to a high interest rate environment, which inverted the yield curve, which I'm gonna verbalize that as I go through this. But there's other things happening that are so important here. Okay, as we forget very, very quickly, I showed you this back in 2022 on the back end. This was December 2022. I want you to listen to what this gentleman says. This is about the dollar debt, FX swaps, and forwards. Huge, missing and growing. Pay attention to what he says.
Some foreign exchange derivatives, such as FX swaps, forwards, and currency swaps, require that the full principal amount be exchanged at maturity. This distinguishes them from other types of derivatives in which the principal is not exchanged. Banks and non-bank financial firms are the biggest users of FX swaps. They use them to fund and hedge portfolios as well as to take positions. Most FX swaps have the US dollar on one side and have very short maturities. This makes FX swap markets vulnerable to dollar funding squeezes. We saw this during the Great Financial Crisis and again in March 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic went global. Because the payment obligations from FX swaps are not recorded on the balance sheet, they are generally not picked up in standard debt statistics. Yet the scale of the dollar payment obligations is staggering, at more than 80 trillion in mid-2022.
So 80 trillion in FX swaps.
The bulk of this dollar debt is likely owed by entities outside the United States for which the US dollar is a foreign currency. As of mid-2022, non-banks outside the United States owed as much as 26 trillion in such missing debt, up from 17 trillion in 2016. This is roughly double their dollar debt on their balance sheets. Similarly, non-US banks owed upwards of 35 trillion, compared to an estimated 15 trillion in dollar debt on their balance sheets. Since this debt is missing in standard debt statistics, it is difficult for analysts to anticipate the scale and geography of dollar rollover needs. Policymakers need statistics that better capture these short-term off-balance sheet obligations.
Okay, so this was in December 2020. So let that sink in. 80 trillion off balance sheet. They're not recording this properly. So let me walk you through that from bringing it down to a simplistic level. So basically, we're in a low interest rate environment. Money was moving back and forth, and then boom, they jacked up interest rates really quickly. Okay, so everything started to change. Okay, so the dollar became more attractive. So people are getting caught in these FX swaps. They're trading your money, guys. They're trading your hard-earned money back and forth. Let me repeat that. They're trading your hard-earned money back and forth. Your pensions, your 401ks, they're being traded back and forth. So they got caught with their pants down. There's over 80 trillion on off balance sheets that they're not. This is the BIS saying, hey, listen, we need to record this stuff, guys. This is not true numbers that we have. So we got 80 trillion that are just floating around there. You heard them. They went from 16 trillion to up to 30 trillion, almost double in missing FX swaps on the system. That is pensions. Okay. So then we come into now, and I'm going to break this down for you guys. So remember Ray Dalio, I was telling you guys cash is trash. I follow all of Ray Dalio's stuff. Everything flipped really quickly. So cash went from trash because interest rates were very low. So you put it into things that are going to give you a return, but interest rates have gone up. And that's a big problem, okay? Number one, it's crushing other countries and it's destroying their monetary system. So all the rich people are putting their cash into US dollars. But on the other end, it's inverting the yield for treasury bonds. And a bunch of companies are stuck in 10-year treasury bonds, which is sucking liquidity out of banks and companies.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. We are joined by a very special guest this morning. Ray Dalio is at the table. Founder of Bridgewater is here. He joins us for an exclusive interview. And for the first time since he stepped down as co-CIO this fall, we should talk about that as well. But a lot to talk to you about. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So help us try to understand what's happening. We always talk about the economic machine. We've got the Federal Reserve as part of that machine of sorts, at least trying to assess what that machine's going to do. You saw what Jay Powell said yesterday. I think we're all trying to make sense of where we really are.
Okay, well, I mean, these things happen over and over again. We're now in the 12th and a half cycle, you know, these cycles, you know how the cycles work. You're 12 and a half cycles since 1945. 1945 was the New World Order, you know, new monetary system. And you know what happens. So let me take you through it quickly. You get a.
So this is important. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun, guys.
Funky economy, weakness, and so on. So what we had, of course, in 2020 with the combination of COVID, and then also the move from the right to the left. There was a distribution of wealth. And so how did you do that? The government had to send out a bunch of checks.
Yep.
And the Federal Reserve, where did the government get the money from? The Federal Reserve lent it. So we have an imbalance. And of course, that put a lot of money in the system. You've got the demand, you've got the cycle, classic cycle, right? Stimulation, credit becomes debt, then you have inflation, then you have a tightness of monetary policy. And so where are we? So we now in a classic spot where we've got a relatively high real interest rate. Real interest rates went from minus 175 basis points to plus.
Right.
100.
This is important right here. This is where everything inverted.
175 basis points, right? You've got a cash rate that's relatively high. Cash used to be trashy. Cash is pretty attractive now. You've got an inverted yield.
Say that
curve.
again. You said trash is now more attractive?
Cash
Cash is trash, is what you used to say.
Yes, cash was negative,
right?
1.5%, 2% real rates, terrible. Now cash is relatively attractive.
Right.
So it's attractive in relation to bonds. It's actually attractive in relation to stocks. You have the classic movement, of course, as rates go up and money becomes tight, you lose the parts of the economy, the parts of the market that are the bubble parts that needed the cash flow, right?
Right.
So you're seeing it reflected in not only, long duration stocks, those that didn't have cash. So you see the tech stocks come down, all of that come down. You see private equity, you see venture capital because they needed cash. All of that comes down. And then, so you're seeing a very, 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 very classic that we've seen these things for 12, and we're halfway through a 12 or 13th cycle, right? But what's also happening in that cycle, as since 1945, is that we then have the accumulation of a lot of debt and money. Okay, so we deal with things like the debt ceiling. Does the debt ceiling matter? Does it matter how much debt we have? And then you have a situation where there's used to be a free market supply demand, but now you've got the Federal Reserve who is now taking it, buying it on the balance sheet, so it's not the supply demand. So you've got that dynamic very, very classically going. I don't think people are paying enough attention to the big cycle. There are these short-term cycles. Since World War II, they've averaged about 6 or 7 years, plus or minus about 3 years. That's what we're in a classic one of those. But we keep building up the debt. And then there were issues in terms of the issue of the dollar and what's happening in terms of the world and the value.
Okay, so he was starting to break it down. That it's a 20-minute interview, but it's really important to understand what he's talking about. So let me break down what he was saying. Okay, so you got the issue with the dollar, right? So people are de-dollarizing from, and I'm telling you my perspective. This is not from the last 20 minutes, but basically they're de-dollarizing, guys. All oil is traded in the dollar now. They're de-dollarizing. Our monetary system is switching. You can't deny that anymore. Here's why. Look at this. So this is Forbes magazine. This was in February 2023. Okay. SVP, Silicon Valley Bank, was the top 20 rated on Forbes magazine, the top 20 bank in the world in February. Okay. Then we went over to now we're the last week's news. The Federal Reserve Board is supposed to monitor the national banks for risk. Is it up to the job? The San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank seems to have missed signs that two failed banks, Silvergate and Silicon Valley Bank, were on firm footing. So now the pressure's on. Senate Banking Committee faces intense 2024 politics and banks collapse hearing. Here's what I think is going to happen. Everything's going to come collapsing down. Okay. 2023, pay attention to the game, right? We're in the end of the Shemitah. September is the end of the Shemitah. Everything's going to come pulling down on the back end of the year. There's a presidential election coming up right after the Bitcoin halving. So we got mid-March, May Bitcoin halving, somewhere around there. As it comes into the 3 months after that, or a couple months after that, it's going to go up. They're going to pump the economy because they want to win the White House. Think about that. You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready with the Nexus strategy. It's your one shot, your one opportunity to transfer that wealth. Okay. As we continue on, the Swiss claim the U.S. banking crisis ultimately toppled Credit Suisse. But are they right? Credit Suisse or Suisse, whatever. Most recent shares price sprung with the collapse of U.S.-based Silicon Valley Bank, but was compounded when a 167-year-old Swiss bank lender announced that it found material weakness in its financial reporting procedures. Guys, what's happening is it's the bond markets. Money was super cheap, so people were putting their money in a 10-year bond. Okay, they were lending money to the government. And then they jacked up interest rates. So now 3-year bonds are more attractive. That lowers the value of the money on their balance sheet. So they're taking your money, they're putting in these long bonds, and then the value goes down, and then they show cracks in the system. We're screwed, as Ray Dalio said. He didn't say that wasn't his words, but we're in a 12-year cycle right now. Take out the micro. The macro is massive. War narrative, supply chain narrative, climate change narrative, a social geopolitical narrative, a presidential election coming next year. It is going to be a wild, wild ride. Silicon Valley Bank bust ripples through the retail industry. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to show you here is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He predicts a $1 quadrillion in Fed if they keep raising rates. Now, what he means by that is they're basically, if they keep raising rates, guys, it's going to smash the middle class. Smash the middle class. The middle class is the baby boomers. The middle class is the small businesses that used to be the engine of the economy. Jerome Powell told you right there, we're moving to a new economy that is leveraged towards technology. He's worried about the middle class. So Warriors, this is your time to activate in real world, fundamental, intrinsic value investments. Cut out frivolous spending, create a budget, stop eating out as much. You need to create a budget right now. You need to cut out frivolous spending, get your high interest rate debt paid off, create a small investment portfolio, and watch what's going to happen with the market. And you have the opportunity to invest in really true value companies at a very discount price, but you have to have an exit plan. Once you start to exit, you need to secure, you need to grow, okay? But you need to get your shit together here and here in the greatest time in history. We can help you with that. After this video, down below in the description, there's many resources out there. You can join the Warrior Academy. You can apply to Coach with Me for Coach with Me as well, privately. Or you can join our conference that's coming up in 2 weeks and meet our team personally and get in the ecosystem, get in the vibe, get in the tribe, and we roll together into 2024, okay? So guys, we're not against anybody. We're here to support you. We're here to rise up together and help our families transition through the biggest shift in generational wealth in human history.
Is designed to keep you trapped. 2017, I walked out of a high-paid vice president job because I was absolutely miserable. Working 16 to 19 hours a day because that's what the system taught me to do. And what I discovered through countless hours of meditation, research, reading books, understanding how the millionaires and billionaires operate, the system is designed to keep you trapped. Today, I own multiple companies. I travel all over the world. I'm financially free, and that's exactly why I created this community of like-minded warriors coming together called the 3T Warrior Academy. Now, I don't say this to brag. I'm sharing this with you to show you what's possible for you. Whether you're just starting out or you're looking to take your life to another level, we believe the Warrior Academy has something for everybody. Processes that take you step by step through disciplined, consistent activities, and that's exactly what you're going to get. Our 120-day challenge, all you have to do is open up the app and take it day by day. We're going to take you through the disciplined, consistent activities to take your life to the next level. Within 1 week, you're going to feel a difference. Within a month, people are going to notice a change in you. That's how powerful this 120-day challenge is. So if you're truly ready to break free from the old paradigm into a new paradigm of discipline, consistency, great relationship with your family, financial freedom, and learning the pillars of wealth that will change your life and generational wealth to come, I'm going to invite you to do our program for 7 days for free. The 120-day challenge has changed over 5,000 warriors' lives worldwide, and we hope to be yours next.
Warriors, Get your together. Let's go.